Hello everyone, welcome to Introduction to Machine Learning. We are in the next installment of the certification for Applied Data Science and Machine Learning. And this course, we'll go ahead and, for our very first lecture, we'll go through two things. We'll go through what just the modules, what it looks like. We'll also go through just high level what we're going to cover over the next couple of weeks, next 4 weeks. And then we'll jump over to GitHub and take a look at the GitHub folder because that's where we're going to go and pull our first week's worth of course material. So first up, let's go ahead and look through Introduction to Machine Learning. We've got our course learning outcomes. This is the home page. And this really is going to be set up the same way that we have if you're going through the Introduction to Data Science course. You will be right at home in terms of the course and the format. It's going to run the same way that the IDS format ran through, with one minor exception that instead of our sync sessions only going for 60 minutes, our sync sessions are going to go for 90 minutes, but all else, everything else will remain the same. So in terms of the same format, so we'll get our materials from GitHub. And that of course includes our async material as well as our sync session drill materials. So all right, well, let's go ahead and jump into some of the details here. For us, it's the same thing. Zach as well as myself will be your course instructors. We've got if there's any information about Canvas or technical questions, you've got your contact information down here on profed@kstate.edu. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the modules. So first up, we've got getting started, course overview, course timeline, how to use Canvas, how to use Zoom. Again, these are, if you've gone through IDS, this is the same format. If you're coming to the Introduction to Machine Learning course for the first time, there's a couple extra steps you'll have to do in the first week of prep just to get your machine set up. Because you can take this course independently, although it is recommended to take IDS first before you take IML course second. But it is fine to be able to take the IML course. There's just a couple extra ramp up videos to get your environment set up in preparation for being able to take this course singularly. Okay, so with that said, let's run through the first week. So week one, we've got our icebreaker discussion. If you're new, go ahead and jump in and introduce yourself in the icebreaker discussion board. After that, if you've come from the IDS course, you really don't need to do an introduction of yourself because you'll be familiar with everyone else will be familiar with everyone else. So should be okay there. Learning activity 1, we're going to go through high-level mechanics of Python. Activity 2 is syntax, comments, variables, and data types, operators, and flow control for learning activity 3. And then we'll have our first sync session on Thursday, and that'll get us prepped for, rather the learning activity 1 through 3 will get us set up for our drills that we're going to take over and execute on learning activity 4 for our sync session. Like IDS, there'll be a reinforcement quiz out here. It'll cover, of course, what we cover in week 1. And then in week 2, we get into data structures, part 1 and part 2, and database integration. Database integration is actually going to be our very first, once we get through the blast through kind of the high level introductory pieces that are required and, kind of speed you up into learning how to program in Python pretty quickly. At that point, we'll introduce you into the database integration, and this is where IDS is helpful, and we spend a lot of time in SQL. We'll be working actually with 2 programming languages at the same time here in Learning Activity 7. But we'll also be this is where we're going to get into the beginnings of actual machine learning. So we've got a lot in store in here in Learning Activity 7. Of course, Learning Activity 8 is our sync session for week 2, reinforcement quiz. Then we have learning modules for week 3, where we get into a lot of the machine learning, feature engineering, cluster analysis, model training, variable setup. And then in week 4, we get into model evaluation, model monitoring, feedback, and reporting. This is in week 4. We get quite a bit into, of course, once we've got our models set up. One of the things that we'll want to be interested in is operationalization of models. So it's kind of closing the loop. It's not just send me the data, but it's also read this data back into the database so that the enterprise can use it. So we're gonna we're gonna review that in week 4 and learn how to do that, and then feedback in the reporting here. We'll wrap up with a last sync session to put a bow tie on this course, and then we are all done. At that point, you'll want to finish up, of course, your reinforcement quizzes. Same format as before. You'll go through and have just different activities that you'll have to run through, both from a Python perspective, but also model machine learning perspective. So there'll be a little bit of everything in our reinforcement quizzes. Last but not least, we'll open up the course evaluation as we get closer to the end of the course. And other than that, the only other thing I would like to show is on Slack, we will be communicating like we have before. So I've got Slack. I'm going to open this up here for everyone to see. We have a IML SP 2022. So this was the IDS Slack channel. And of course, you can always email us, Zach as well. You can email either of us or direct message us through Slack. Slack's just a great way to stay in touch with everyone, but also stay in touch with each other as a group. Like we had a private Slack channel for IDS SP 2020. I'm sorry, SP 22. We also have one for IML SP 22. So we're up to 16 course members. That includes faculty as well as students. So we'll be communicating this way through Slack, again, just like we've done before. If you went through IDS, you'll be right at home here. If this is the first time you're taking the IML course, this is the primary way we'll be communicating with everyone. So you have two ways of communicating high level. One is private, and then the other one is public with the group. Okay, with that, I think that's all I have on the Slack part. And I think we're ready to go ahead and go over to GitHub. So next up, we'll want to go into GitHub. So you will want to watch, if you are new to the Introduction to Machine Learning course for the first time, one of the things I will want you to do, in other words, you didn't take the IDS course and you're taking IML singularly, go through this learning activity 0, and there is a note here. And once we get this pulled up here, there's going to be a note here. Right here. There are, if you have taken the IDS course, then you can skip these videos below. What you'll want to do is watch these videos first, because they will help get your machine prepped and ready to go for IML. And then once you've done that, then you'll be in good shape and be able to follow along and get caught up. So if you have taken the IDS course, then you can skip these videos. If you're on a Mac, you'll want to watch these. If you're on a Windows machine, you will want to watch this one here. Okay, so that's all I've got here for this is for machine prep. So it's a little extra time. Again, if you've taken the IML course by itself, you'll probably have about an hour of additional time to get your machine prepped up and ready to go for this course. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over to GitHub. Here is our new, this is our new GitHub remote repo. So this is where our learning content is going to be, where we're getting our learning content from, just like we did with IDS. This is where we're going to get our content weekly. We've got Getting Started, Mechanics of Python, Syntax, and Control Flow. That's up for this week. That's just to kind of get you a crash course in Python. Then we've got a little bit of additional crash course in Python for next week before we jump into, towards the end of next week, we'll actually be jumping into the beginnings of probabilistic programming. So that's really, we just have to get you up to speed on Python itself, and then we can kind of dive into the probabilistic parts of the programming constructs in that regard. The name of the GitHub repo is KSUS-IML-main. This is where we're going to be getting our content, and we'll open this up just to give you an idea here. This is what you'll see remotely. You'll have a PDF that has, of course, a lecture that we're going to go through in a minute, as well as a PowerPoint version of that. There's an async check that we will do just to make sure that your machine is, in fact, running properly. And then, of course, a PDF of the syllabus here that you can get for your own reference. This was sent out via email, so you will have you'll have a copy of that as well, but you have access to all this material, so you can have a personal copy for your GitHub repo. Okay, so let me head back over here. I'm going to jump through this PDF that's in the Getting Started. So the first thing we need to do is get our content downloaded. So what I'm going to do is come over, and we're going to clone a repository. So I opened up GitHub, just like we've done before. Once you get GitHub desktop installed, and if you have IDS, if you had taken the IDS course, then you're good to go. This will all be installed. But what we'll do is we're going to go up to File, and we're going to go to Clone Repository. I have some extra stuff here that's showing up. This is just because I have a bunch of other things. You may not have other stuff going on in your GitHub. I'm kind of pointed to a different repository here at the moment. But what I want everyone else to do is do a file, and then we're going to clone a repository. And then we're going to go back. Just remember that we're going to be looking for this. Everyone's been given access to this remote repo. So you'll pop this in here, and then it'll start searching for it. And let's just make sure we're good and we don't have any errors here. Whoops. So that's what you want to be looking for right there. Okay, once that's done searching, you should get this repository KSUS-IML main. And in this case, just find a directory that you want to have it. I've got it loaded up into my GitHub repository here, which would be KSUS-IML main. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one. So this will work. I'll just say clone. And just like before, we'll do this each week. We're going to clone the, we'll do a get pull. We'll do a repository refresh each time. So once this comes down next week, what we'll do is a repository pull from KSUS-IML main. All right, and then we'll switch this over to, you'll have this. You should have, I have an instructors, I'll have an instructors, but what you can do is switch over to KSUS-IML main. And then here you have, this is where you will do a repository pull each week, because we'll put some new content up, and I'll walk you through it each time. So each week when we have a new batch of videos to upload, we'll go through a get pull to refresh your learning content each week. Now, when it's finished downloading, it should be pretty quick this first week. You're going to have this KSUS-IML main. So this is what I've got. This is where I put it. And this is where, so for me, I've got it in my documents folder under GitHub. And I've got this folder now called KSUS-IML main, local to my machine. And that's means that once we have this, we're good to go. We don't need GitHub anymore. I'm just going to minimize that. And we'll go ahead and open up this. And this is all of our learning content. So KSUS-IML main, getting started. And here's what we're going to be working on for our lecture, as well as a quick lecture lab combined. Usually we have a lecture and a lab separate, but what I've got here is we've got a PDF copy of our presentation for this week, and then also we've got our quick lab check. So we're going to do a quick check on our machine and make sure that we've got everything installed and everything is a-okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. All right. So, welcome to our very first lecture for IML. And now we're getting past the getting started stuff. So, let's jump into the business objectives and what we're going to do. So, we've got the course login, so course structure, course timeline, getting help. We've kind of covered some of that. I'll circle back to course login just to make sure that everyone's okay in that regard. Of course, getting help. I mentioned that resources, and then business objectives. So we'll work through those pieces right now. So this is our just a quick page on our syllabus. You have access to the syllabus. I showed you where that's at, so you can get and I've sent it out via email, so you have a copy of that. In terms of getting logged into um, uh, the non-credit instructor course, it's actually right here. This is the link, noncreditksu.instructor.com. You'll have actually non-credit. You'll be given a link. This is actually, now that I realize this is a link that we have, but you should be receiving a link as well. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and shoot us an email, and we'll get you squared away. So okay, so this is what we did in the IDS course. There's a bit of a simulation here in terms of what we're working with. So in the IDS course, just to kind of get everyone up to speed, we went and talked to a C-suite about around getting access to our enterprise data. We went through that process. We were granted access to this data, and next up, we've been learning. Next up through that IDS process, we went through and learned about the data that we were working with. And now we're getting pulled into another conversation. Now that we've had time to understand the data, what we're working with, now we're actually going into a new phase, which is now what can we do with it? So we've done a lot of different things. We've dug into all the different schemas, the production schema, the customer schema, the sales schema, the work orders. We've been running through and truly digging into the data. But now we want to see some results, right? So we've been called into the C-suite again. And in this case, what we're doing is we've been giving some new marching orders, which is to build out, as part of our process, is to build out a machine learning framework that's actionable, which requires us to do some learning in terms of the framework that we're going to use. In this case, it's going to be Python and SQL. So in a lot of cases, especially at the enterprise level for organizations, you'll build machine learning models, autonomous machine learning models for organizations, and a lot of times you're going to be connected to an enterprise data set, right? And in this case, you'll be using some kind of ML framework, and SQL's not built for the machine learning aspects of that, but it is great for the data and data shaping and understanding the data, as well as learning how to get a feel for the data. So that's why we have to spend a lot of time with SQL. So that kind of puts, just as an FYI, that's kind of what you'll see in a lot of organizations. So that's what we've got for the machine learning framework. Another part of the business objective is how do we integrate Python at a lower level, not just talking about it, right? We're not just, professionals are going to be looking for us to, the organization is going to be looking for us to be implementing something and not just being consultants about it, right? We're not just here to put some stuff on, put some pretty pictures up. We're not building strategies. We're actually going to be putting some code together to make this work. Then we're going to look at operationalizing the framework. That's going to be really key, and that's a big differentiator between machine learning and data science. So data science is really focused on, just like it sounds, it's the science of data. And to a certain extent, it's not really focused on the operationalization of the models and outputs and insights that are generated out of the data science framework. The machine learning aspect of this is going to give you the tools that you need to be able to operationalize, not only do the data science aspect of it and understand that, but then take that to the next level where we take the models and the model output and put that into something that is actionable for the organization. And and continuous. That's the big thing. It's just it's not just a one-off analysis. It's something that building a system that learns from itself and can do that you can scale up. So that's what this course is to give you the tools to be able to do that and build it up further. Okay. Last but not least, the C-suite's going to want an after-action report. What are we looking to, it's a couple questions we want to ask ourselves as you go back from after wrapping this course up is, what's, if you were to go and build a data science team or a machine learning team, what does that look like, right? And what did you get out of this process that you can take back? What worked, what didn't work, what's going to work for your organization, what's not going to work for your organization. But ultimately, we're looking to find out, is this going to be an appropriate framework, bedrock for us to build on top of to build something out further. Okay, so first up, we've got some near-term things we got to take care of, which is build a prototype machine learning framework. We can only do that through creating an integrated data system. So in other words, what we built in insights we gathered on the SQL side, it has to translate over and be able to integrate with the Python framework that we're going to build. And then make it operational. So that's what we're going to be working on in the near term. Long-term goals is like I mentioned, is it we're trying to build a sustainable machine learning process, machine learning team. Hopefully, right? That's the goal here, is to imbue everyone here with enough material so that they know, so that they can take this back to their organizations and hopefully turn that into some machine learning for the organization, machine learning capabilities for the organization. So, okay, that's all we have here. Now what we're going to do, this wraps up this part of our lecture. So that's the getting started and then the business prep. And now what we're going to do is jump into Azure Data Studio. So once you've got your Azure Data Studio up and running, go ahead and get that up. We'll see here. It's going to take a bit for mine. Okay, once you've got Azure Data Studio up and loaded, you'll be back to a familiar look and feel here if you're coming from the IDS course. If you're coming new into IML, the IML course, then this is what you should see. After you've gone through the prep videos, you should have a connection to the localhost SQL Server Express. We won't be using this portion of the Azure Data Studio as much, as we'll be focused on Python and not as much on SQL. There's some stuff that we'll need to, so when you come over, there's some things that we'll need to take care of as we go to prep our environment. I know that if you came from the IDS, see up here, it says IDS workspace. That should be what you see up here. That's okay if you don't have it exactly like that. We'll set up a new workspace, but we do need to set up a new workspace for IML, and that should get everyone taken care of here. Now, one of the things that we'll need to go double check is come over to this area, the Explorer, and you'll see this IDS workspace. And this is I have an instructors here, but you should have everything here. You should have learning activities as well as the AW Data Dictionary all the way from 0 to 16. And then we're going to have another one. We're going to create another one for the KSUS IML main. Okay, so let's go ahead and minimize that. And how we're going to do that is we're going to create a new workspace, then add the new GitHub folder so that we're working with, so we have two separate workspaces, one for IDS and then one for IML. That'll make it nice and clean. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to File, and we're going to say File, Save Workspace As. We're going to make a copy of it. So you've got, this is your IDS workspace, .code workspace. That is your old workspace for the data science course. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to say IML workspace, and we're going to create a new workspace that's independent of this data science workspace. This will be the machine learning workspace. So save that. And we'll now have two. It's going to create another. Let's see, give it a second here. And basically what it's going to do is I'm going to have this IML workspace it's a duplicate. And I'm going to have this KS IDS main, and then I'm going to have this KS US IDS main instructors. That's for me. That's nothing you have to worry about. So I'm actually going to remove, folder from workspace. And then you're going to remove this folder. This is what you should see in your situation. You should see a KS US IDS main. You're going to remove that from your workspace as well. So remove folder from workspace. Right click and then say remove folder. And you're going to get this blank screen, which is going to give you this add folder option. So go ahead and click on that, add folder. And you're going to go to your GitHub repo, in this case right here, and we're going to select this KSUS IML main. So you're going to go to wherever it is that you downloaded your GitHub learning content, so the remote repo learning content, wherever you saved it, you'll want to go to that GitHub KSUS, wherever this KSUS IML main folder is, select that. And then we'll say, oops, just do this, and then we'll say add. And then we've got our content added in here, and then there we go. So we've got our getting started, 01 mechanics of Python, syntax comments, variables, and then control flow. So this is everything we need for getting us going on IML. Okay, so now that we've got this taken care of, I do want to make a quick note for the people that are taking the IML course singularly and not the IDS course. There is one more video that you will want to watch. I've updated our modules. So I had showed earlier that you want to watch this video. So this lab Windows machines, yes, you have to do that. That gets Azure Data Studio, GitHub, Slack. It's all the fun stuff taken care of. But last up, you have getting Python installed, which will prep your Azure Data Studio for Python so that you have it ready to go for the course. So it's a quick 7 minutes, probably take you about 15 minutes to knock it out. So you do these back to back. Do the video lab for Windows machines, then do the video lab for getting Python installed. And then once you get those installed, you'll be good to go. For people that are using Macs, you would want to follow this as well. That has the same. It's all inside Azure Data Studio for getting Python prepped. It's an easy process. Shouldn't take too long, but make sure you get this one taken care of. Okay, so back to now that we've got that taken care of for that. Now that should get everyone caught up, whether you're taking IML singularly or you've taken the prior IDS course and now you're doing this one. We're ready to go and jump into getting started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this open, this 00 getting started. There's the PDF, the PowerPoint, and then we have this learning activity 0, the Python check async. So this is just a quick refresh just to make sure that everything's okay, and give you, this is the initial prep. Now we did do this in the prior IDS course towards the tail end. We did this check, but let's just getting back into the flow of things. Let's pull Python up, and then we're gonna run some Python. Now one of the things that we have to double check is our kernel up here, making sure that all this is working properly and that we're switched to the proper kernel. Right now my kernel's loading. There we go. So I'm in Python. You will want to make sure that your notebook is set for Python 3 and not SQL. In this course, we're going to actually be bouncing back between Python 3 and PowerShell. Probably, I would say 95% of our time we're going to be in Python 3, but we occasionally have to use we have to incorporate libraries to help us, Python libraries to help us do what we want to do. So we'll occasionally jump out to PowerShell, and so of course we'll cover that when that bridge when we get there. But right now you should be in Python 3. We won't be in SQL, so you want to make sure that you're selecting Python 3 for your kernel. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into creating our first program for the IML course. And just to kind of give you an idea of Python and what it is, it's a general purpose language. And the idea behind Python is to make it as a general purpose language. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. We can use it for back-end programming. We can use it for front-end application development or front-end programming. We can even use it for data science. We can use it for machine learning. It's a very, very powerful language that allows us to do a lot of different things and connect into a lot of different disciplines. It can be used in different industries, from aerospace to finance to science. There's a lot of scientific programming that there's a very robust, for example, astronomical. Astronomical community loves to use Python for a lot of its image analysis and things that are captured from like Hubble, for example. So there's a lot of power in it. We're actually going to be using it for machine learning purposes because it's really built really well for doing that. There are other languages out there, but Python is by far the favorite and more robust in terms of not only community but help, debugging, metadata. There's just such a rich community around Python that you can't go wrong going this route. Let's see. I think that's all we got for just this part. Let's go ahead and start creating. So this is Python 3. One of the very first things we're going to do is create a Hello World program, and it's as simple as one line. All right. Let's get over here. So there's multiple ways to create Hello World. I'm going to show you the hard way and the easy way. So let's start with the easy way. The easiest way to do Hello World in Python is let's create a string, and then it's just going to be called Hello World. And then we'll run that. And that right there, that's all we need. That's your very first Python program. And if you get a Hello World down here, that means that your Python 3 code is working when you do the print. Now let's create one that's like this is our simple. Oops, that's okay. So in Python, one of the things that you'll find is that there's multiple ways to do things, to do the same thing, and that's true with any language, not just Python. But so here we go. Let's jump into Hello World. This is the simple version. And now let's create one that's a little bit more complicated. All right, and so what I'm doing here, just to explain a little bit, these are line comments. In SQL, we use what was called --, or we use /*/. So that doesn't work. Neither one of those comment structures works in Python. Python uses what's called the hash, or in this case, it's a hash for a line comment, or what we call doc strings or string literals for block comments. And that's the two methods, and they're very different, and we'll cover just right now. Just know that hash is for a line comment, and when we get to we'll get to string literals here in a next a follow-up learning activity. Okay, so this is that a print statement. That's just that's a basic system function. You're going to use it a lot. We'll get real familiar with it. And what we did here is we just passed a string into the print function. Now there's a couple different ways we could have done this also that might look a little bit more familiar to everyone here. So let's do another one, and I'm going to create a variable, and we're going to call this variable just str for string, str equal to hello world, and then we can print the str. In other words, print the string, and then we can we can go that route. So then we have hello world, and then we can create even a more complicated version of hello world by creating string A and string B here, and I can say this is our first part of our string, and then this is the second part of our string. And so I have two variables now, and then I'm going to say string A concatenates to string B. And then I'm going to put a space in it and concatenate the space. So this is a little bit more complicated. We're just kind of adding a little bit more to it. So we got three hello worlds in different varying complexities. And that's kind of the neat thing about Python is, again, we just did hello world in three different ways, from the simple to the more complicated, and more complicated. There you go. So that takes care of our work for learning activity 00. And that should get you all set to go. Once you are able to get three hello worlds working in this way, you're good to go for your machine. Not only is we've got our marching orders, but we also have our development workspace prepped and ready to go. So if you've got this working and this all looks good, and you see what I see, and it's the same as what you're seeing on your end as what you're seeing on my end, then you're in great shape to tackle the next to dive into it, which is the mechanics of Python, where we'll get right into the nitty gritty of Python right away. So if you've got any questions, as usual, feel free to hit me up on Slack or give our other instructor a call as well. But Slack is the best way, but also email or text works just fine as well. All right, that's all I've got for getting started. Learning Activity 00. I will see you in Learning Activity 01.